little early. Why not? No, dogs do not get up. Play around. Background. Well, hello, and welcome to Raider HQ After Dark, the short notice edition. And in this, I was kind of bored, so I thought I'd just do a live stream. You know, bored. We're still going to do the one tomorrow. But good evening, everybody, and well, Merry Christmas Eve to you all. I'm happy that everyone could be here, but I'm more happy if you can all be with your friends and family. So why am I doing a live stream tonight? Well, mostly just because I'm bored, like I said. But some of it was to show off, and it gives me the giggles. I can't. I got to show off some new art. Rocky made this for me, and it makes me laugh, and it makes me happy. And I'm kind of a big nerd, and this is hilarious. I it just makes me laugh. You guys are awesome, by the way. Like, you guys are awesome. Let me see here. What else do I have? I do have it looks great. I mean, Rocky did it. And I mean, to his credit, I mean, like, I couldn't do this. You guys are great. Like, there's other fan art. Like, I asked for somebody to do a Combat Ken, and well, sure enough, challenge accepted. Hold my beer, and somebody did it, and it's good. And I'll have to pull it out of my email, but it's hilarious. It's like the Combat Karen, and from our fifth wheel, the art rocks. Yeah, and credit where credit's due. I did not make this up, so I mean, it's Rocky. So one of the things, and Rocky had a question too, so we're gonna go into Rocky's question actually. So, oops, let me remove that real quick. I didn't actually cover up the email, so hold on. Some technical difficulties here. So we'll snip the snip of the thing. So we'll come back to Rocky's question, or I'll answer Rocky's question in a while. What else was there? Oh, I had a question. Somebody wanted me to review their higher level review, like, statement, and I was going to do that on screen. So they kind of redacted everything, and I believe that they gave me permission to review it. So I'm going to do that today. I'm going to review their higher level review statement. Now, this is going to be a neutral rendition, right? Like, I'm not going to pull any punches just because, they're subscribed to the show and they sent it to me. I'm just going to give my honest opinion on this. Okay. So let's go ahead and let's remove this. We're not very prepared tonight. So this is the higher level review statement. Well, statement in support of higher level review. Bad headaches with visual aura. Okay. So the weird thing about this is that a higher level review typically just goes on the evidence of record. And I can already tell that this individual's this isn't necessary. You'll be able to do this in the informal conference. You'll be able to talk to them. But okay, I'll go through it just because, and I'll give you my opinions from the Raider perspective, right? Even though this will be a Dro reviewing it, I yeah. So, first things first, I mean, it's well organized. Well, let's just say that. And then we go down here, and they're treating it like it's a clear and unmistakable error. And I don't understand why people do that. And I think it is Chat GPT. I think it honestly is. But the problem is that when Chat GPT does stuff like this, it it creates it like it's a clear and unmistakable error. Everybody knows the purpose of the higher level review. The higher level review is that you disagree with the rating decision, something that the rater and or VSR and or authorizer did not follow the right procedures. So errors of law and or fact. Well, that's a clear and unmistakable errors perspective. I mean, it is kind of the higher level review's purpose, but it just weirds me out whenever people do this because the DRO is not impressed by any of this. Like the best thing that you can do for a higher level review is just clearly and concisely and shortly, as concisely as possible, identify what it is that you're saying that was wrong. So that way they can look it up. Is this yours? Senor Blues? I don't know. I don't know whose it is at this point in time. I just kind of pulled it up because I wanted to review one. But if it isn't Chat GPT, then it's very organized, but it's organized like if you were writing a clear and unmistakable error. It's fine, GC Jarhead. I just kind of wanted to just talk to people for a few minutes. But the higher level review is the correct review lane, no evidence. Like even the titles are kind of off to me a little bit. Unless this is to organize your thoughts for the higher level review. But it doesn't look like that because it's starting to cite evidence. So the problem with this is this request does not ask the DRO to apply board level laws. I mean, I don't know. Like you're telling somebody a lot of stuff here. It's kind of a weird way to start the stream, but it's very weird. I like minimalistic on my stuff. Scope of the review. The higher level review is limited to December 18th. The DRO knows what the higher level review's date limits are. Like you got to be. Is it yours, Senor Blues? Okay. So I'm going to be honest with you here. Okay. The issues and standards. Anybody that's reading this knows what the issues and standards are. So this is kind of a wasted section. You contend that it contains one factual error and record as lacking a current diagnosis despite VA neurology evidence of record. A legal error by failing to reconcile materially conflicting evidence. Now this is right. Actually, these CFRs are not correct. Okay. It is a little long-winded, senor. But let me tell you, this right here is what you have to say. Is that the actual legal definition of the thing that you're trying to invoke here is the duty to assist. The duty to assist was not factually, let me make this a little bit bigger for you guys. The duty to assist was not factually applied because there was conflicting evidence because you have private records or VA records showing a diagnosis, and then you have the DBQ that didn't adequately account for why those records are not sufficient, right? Like why your diagnosis is overruled. So it's actually, and you should probably take notes on this, senor, the duty to assist. That's what's going to resonate with the DRO on this, not 38 CFR 4.2 and 4.6, because they don't. Those two have to do with how a rater reviews the evidence. And that is true. But the thing that they broke was they broke the duty to assist by not having the conflicting evidence resolved. Okay. Are you tracking this, senor? Sure, that's fine. So that's the purpose. Now, this right here, you putting the file number and all this stuff in the rating decision, you don't have to do this. They're going to know because your 0996 form um, has you write out what rating decision you're talking about. So this is honestly redundancy right here. And it's not good because the longer this is, the more convoluted this is, you're going to lose the DRO. You don't want to lose the DRO, okay? So when you write any kind of statement in support of your higher level review, you want to make sure that you're not citing their own, like, this is what your job is, sir and or ma'am. You don't want to do that to them, okay? They already know this. They know that it's not to re-argue anything, but I actually disagree with that. I think it is to argue something. It is to re-argue whether or not the facts, all the laws and regulations were applied. So I don't know. I would take this all out. I don't understand why this is here because the DRO will know what this is. This is fine right here. Here's what matters to me in this section. I would want you to cite the actual VHA neurology treatment record dates for the DRO. That's going to help them immensely. Okay. Like if you say, hey, look, I had a diagnosis dated this date by the VA, by a neurologist, and that shows that I have a current diagnosis for the condition. So the fact that the examiner in the DBQ didn't put that I had a current diagnosis is conflicting, and it wasn't actually, in line with the duty to assist. Yeah, citing 4.2 and 4.6, it's the duty to assist. I would like to identify errors of law and fact. I mean, once again, it's the duty to assist. On a side note, Senor. Yeah, but do you see what I'm talking about though, Senor? Is that this first part you're losing the DRO. If they've got to read something twice, you're losing them. And they're the decision maker. So you want all of your most like neon lights on it in the first paragraph. Hey, look, they didn't do this. Per this, the duty to assist, I had a diagnosis here. They said there was no diagnosis. Yeah. All right, cool. Sorry, Senor. The other thing that I wanted to point out here is that this is an aside, but bad headaches would be 0% unless they're prostrating. So at best, bad headaches that are non-prostrating, visual aura doesn't count towards the actual evaluation. It's just the bad headaches that are prostrating. I would want to see that. This request does not ask the DRO. Okay, fair enough. The scope of the review, once again, contested finding of no disability, no link. Okay, I mean, that's good. Higher level review does not request a review unrelated issues. Yeah, don't. Okay. This is just a personal thing for me. Never ask the person with absolute power to not review the rest of your unrelated issues. They tend to actually want, like, that's like thou dost protest too much type thing. Be careful with telling them what they should and should not review with that absolute power. The other thing is, if they are prostrating, that should be all over the place because it's not mentioned here. This higher level review is based solely on the evidence of record at the time of the contested decision. Okay, I mean, that's what it's going to be. I'm identifying specific. Okay, once again, you're kind of treating this like it's a clear and unmistakable error review where you have the three prongs that must be satisfied. That's not the case. Current diagnosis, disability, disposition. The decision's no diagnosis disability findings conflict with the VHA record showing the headaches, migraines, and treatment at the time of the decision. I would also add to this that it doesn't adequately, if they didn't put the medical opinion in there, if they did put the medical opinion in your rating decision, I would probably talk to the fact that it did or did not adequately overcome why there shouldn't be a why there wasn't a disability. Like they didn't provide a good enough rationale. Because that's another thing when we look at the let's see here. When we look at like sufficiency, general sufficiency criteria. Let me see here. That's not what I want. Sorry, it's going to be kind of a rambly. Let's try insufficiency. Insufficient exams. Okay, so this is going to be the section of the manual that you are going to be quoting to them. Once again, this falls back on my manual references are more probative to DROs more than they are to like, if you're quoting the 38 CFR, you're going to lose the DRO. You need to get in here to the nitty gritty of this right here and say that VA examinations themselves, the report is missing information pertinent to the specific disability under review, such as the impact. Well, for you, it would be it's missing information as to how that examiner overcame the denial. So this one too, a medical opinion is not properly supported by a valid rationale. How do I not have a diagnosis if I clearly have one by the VA? So this section of the manual here, Senor, is what you would want to be quoting to the actual DRO. Because, and I know that a lot of people disagree with me on this, the DRO, the higher level review, is not a court of law. Okay, it's still within the boundaries of the VBA, and they care more about the manual. This right here, you can call the rater out for not clarifying the unsupported rationale for changing the diagnosis. Okay. The required questionnaire disabilities on the disability benefits questionnaire is unanswered. Well, okay, that's not it. But anyway, so that's how. Yes, please check the M21, Senor. It strengthens your argument to where you can say more with less. Okay. Once again, the nexus, VA neurology documents, onset, in service. Wait, VHA neurology documents, onset, in service after the head injury, and provides favorable treatment specialist evidence that is not reconciled against the conduct. This is a very good statement right here, Senor. This is a very good statement. This is not the nexus, though. Okay, this would be the diagnosis rationale. Okay, that's how I would say it towards the diagnosis, because the nexus would be the connection. If the examiner doesn't believe that there is a diagnosis, then there is no nexus. All right. Reconciliation and adequacy. This is not a category for which the DRO would be. Okay, I'm not sure where you got this, but this is weird for me. The decision treats the contractor's DBQ as controlling, despite material conflict with longitudinal treatment records, contrary to the 38 CFR 4.2 and 4.6. Okay. Here's something I need you guys to, oh, I'm sorry, Senor, but okay. But this is a teachable moment. I need you to all understand that the rater is the only one, honestly, the only one that is required to follow 38 CFR 4.2 and 4.6. So they should have caught it. But the examiner themselves are not bound by 38 CFR 4.2 and 4.6. So requiring the minimal correction of pre-decisional duty to assist error if the exam was relied upon without resolving the conflict. Okay. So it depends here. Okay, senor. Sometimes, if the examiner did some things and the rater supported it, it technically doesn't violate 4.2 and 4.6. The only way that you can get around it is if the DRO has a difference of opinion. So, thank you, Salty Old Marine. In learning mode, no more beer, senor. Okay. So, this is all fine, right? Um, Issues in dispute, current disability, error of fact. It's a once again, words matter. Okay, guys, I'm gonna tell you. You do not have to kiss the dro's bottom or anything like that, but you have to be very careful with the words you choose and how you format the things that you format to them. Similar to how you file a claim. You don't file a claim dropping F bombs and going nuts on them and expecting them to do things nicely for you. Okay? People are human beings, and sometimes some people have more resiliency towards that than other people do. You can put off a DRO in a higher level review if you want to start dictating their job to them. Kind of like going up to a cop and telling him how to do his job. I'm sure that there's probably, not a lot of good things that will happen from it. I just caution with how you claim things. I usually form it in the fact in a question, like, you know what, I wasn't sure, but it looks like they didn't do the duty to assist. It looks like the rater didn't do the duty to assist. That way you can kind of, without being confrontational towards the DRO themselves, you can kind of get your point across. Yeah, no. So the decision found no current clinical diagnosis disability, but the VA treatment record, this is perfect right here. I would just want to see dates and times with this specifically. Like, show me how that evidence was of record at the time of the rating decision and it wasn't considered. That's the duty to assist error that would be in question. Hey, look, you guys had it. It's of record. It's right here. You guys just didn't apply it. That's, or that's what it looks like to me, at least. The nexus and onset, failure to reconcile evidence. Once again, yeah. I'll probably not go through the whole thing, senor, but yeah. But you see, you do a really good job here. Already of record, documented onset in service after 1987 occupational head injury. When did you serve? Did you serve through 1987? Sorry, somebody was reading something. I got to turn on the scrolling chat. Forgot to. Did not reconcile the treatment specialist. Okay. Once again, application of 30. Oh no. No, senor, don't quote the laws to them. Don't quote the regulations, because unfortunately 38 CFR 4.2 and 4.6, the rater has authority to review things how they want to review them. They can assign probative value how they see it. They can assign credibility to people. Just be careful with invoking this one, please. Because if the examiner said that there was no diagnosis and they provided a sufficient rationale for it, they can overcome that. I know, senor. I'm sorry. It's fine. But see, like, sometimes you can have it to where, and I think I provided this example in a different video where I said, hey, look, I have the veteran has a diagnosis of chronic fatigue syndrome. They were diagnosed with it. However, not all the appropriate required testing was done in order to validate that they have chronic fatigue syndrome. So whenever they were denied for not having chronic fatigue syndrome, and then the next examiner says, or the examiner says, hey, look, I know they were diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome, but I think that they have sleep apnea and they have hypersomnolence. And that's where the fatigue appears to be coming from. After we did all the testing that we were supposed to do, we found that the veteran didn't have an actual diagnosis for chronic fatigue. Okay. So, what we're looking at here is we're looking at the new examiner or the examiner themselves can overturn medical evidence if the requirements, like the diagnostic imaging, things like that, if there's certain kind of diagnostic requirements in order to come to that conclusion that you have migraines or that whatever, they can do that. Okay. So they can overturn a diagnosis. It's better the more evidence that they provide. So, like my chronic fatigue syndrome would be a very solid, probative overturning of a diagnosis for, say, chronic fatigue. Migraines is a little bit harder because there isn't really a diagnostic test for it. So, what we're kind of going on here is how persuasive was the examiner in their oh God, Senor, stop. Okay. So you can well, and Senor, this is not, let me be clear, this is not to make fun of anybody. This is educational. This was, I would say, really well written. It just, it's really well written based upon how us as veterans have been told how to write things like this in the past. Lawyers, attorneys will write things like this, and it makes me shake my head because I'm like, none of this is needed. But attorneys have to write it like this so that way you want to pay them for this. Okay? Yeah, and that's Senor, that's where I'm looking at it and I think, "Hey, look, you have a really good case here. Just based on the how it's described, how things are done, that's kind of a knee jerk. They should have, if there was any doubt there, and for me, there would be a lot of doubt. If there was any doubt there, then they should have deferred it back to the examiner and had them further explain. I do. I just didn't want to pull it up because that's even more sensitive stuff, I believe. So, Senor, I didn't want to pull up the DBQ. But let's go here. The denial improperly relies on the contractor's headache DBQ. Okay, unfortunately, that headache DBQ is absolute. If the evidence supports their conclusions. So it's, if without that DBQ, the rater can't move forward. Like we can't actually use your statements in lieu of the DBQ because the duty to assist for examinations, we have to get an examination in most cases. Um, this favorable onset evidence is not addressed, and I'll agree with you on that. I don't think that you got a I don't think you got a long form narrative on this. And if the DRO, like, I don't know if you've already had your higher level reviews informal conference, but it would behoove you to go in. Yeah, and they, yeah, see that's, but see that's confliction, Senor. That's that's the confliction in, sorry. That's the confliction in that should have been reconciled. So I agree with you. All day long, you have a duty to assist error in this to where they prematurely rated you without going back and clarifying the stuff. So when you have the conference, okay, like real simple duty to assist error. There's conflicting evidence in my thing. This is what it is. I had a diagnosis here. They said I had no diagnosis, even though in my DBQ it talks about all my symptoms. I have a diagnosis from somebody that's probably way more qualified to make the diagnosis than the person that did the DBQ. And the other thing that is important whenever you do the informal conference is ask them if they do cite against you, can you have the rater that does the final decision do a long form narrative? Because I want all the evidence in front of me. And this is very true. Like this is a very powerful statement. Like this right here is a very powerful statement. This is one that I might use in the informal conference. The decision rationale is inconsistent with the VA treatment records. That might be a good idea, Senor, to do a 4138 and just kind of maybe add some stuff to it. In my 526EZ application, this is all going to be of record. I like that you put all of it in here. This is a good retelling, recounting of the original claim. So this is good. This statement right here, interesting. I would want to, yeah. What VA? Like, make sure, like, you have to be as specific as possible, especially if you've went to more than one VA in your life. If you haven't, then this is fine. But I like to name the VA medical centers. Okay. Guys, give me a few on the questions here. I'm just going to go through this a little bit quicker and then we'll get to some questions. VA diagnosis and treatment. Okay. I like the fact that you're citing everything. This is good. I like the fact that you're calling them on this, the fact that you're using sumatriptine. This all just, once we get to the threshold of duties to assist error, you've won over the DRO. Okay. That's what I mean whenever I say you got to pick your words carefully, is because you don't want to alienate. You don't want to make the DRO standoffish. Once they get to that point of, oh, okay, we can prove that there's a duty to assist error, then they're going to send you for a new exam. Like, that's just what's going to happen. They're not going to overturn it because they medically, like, a DRO's not a medical provider. They'll need to have a tiebreaker or a new examination with medical opinion, depending on what you're claiming. And that's what the process is. So yeah, DTA. Okay. So I'm going to tell you right now, they can't, if there's a duty to assist error, then they can't grant because there's still that conflicting evidence that needs to be resolved. That's the way the rating process works. The rater who did your claim should have looked and said, wait a minute, this is all over the place. I'm going to make them clear this up. And it can't be maybe both sides. It's got to be one or the other. That's why I say that no evidence is in equipoise, because if there is kind of a, maybe it's this, maybe it's that, then we have to clarify with the examiner to determine, I need an absolute fact. Is there or is there not a diagnosis? Yes or no? So yeah, that's what's going to happen on this. Okay. We'll scroll through some of this. Yes. I don't need to know the doctor's names. Informal conference. Nexus and onset, I mean, we just have to just start saying duty to assist error. It gets them, and it wouldn't be a difference of opinion. I need to say that up front, because the fact of the matter is the evidence is conflicting. There's no debate on that. Okay, there's no other opinion to have. The evidence is clearly insufficient. The exam was clearly insufficient per the M21. Like, it was missing information pertinent to it. The medical opinion did not properly support the rationale. So they cannot grant on a de novo review. They can't. They can't reconcile. The medical evidence has to be reconciled first, because there is a statistical possibility that you might medically not have the diagnosis, and they can't, because they're non-medical, they can't attest to that either way. Insomnia cannot be secondary to anything, and I need you to understand that. Insomnia cannot. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we don't need a difference of opinion. If we're going to infer something, we're going to infer a duty to assist error. I like the fact that you're in the M21-1. I like here that you're in the M21-1 here too. Favorable findings, as you guys saw in my video, are not as binding as what you believe them to be. They don't hold as much weight, because your favorable finding could be overturned based upon new evidence. Pardon me. So if you cannot grant benefits, okay, never to use an absolute is painful for me. Never give them options. Okay. If you're unsure of what should happen, either you're sure that there was a duty to assist error or you are not. And then that's why they'll do whatever they're going to do. But never give them options because you want to keep it simple. If the goal is to potentially get a new examination and get granted because the facts are on your side, let's go with that. Higher level reviews should have one specific direction. You're not given options. This ain't Burger King, okay? Not trying to be mean or nothing like that. I get you're unsure. I get that. But this is, you are accusing the VA of not following their own rules and regulations. You have to be certain of it. You have to be nice about it, and you have to be concise about it. It has to be clear, like you were using beforehand, the clear and unmistakable guidelines. You have to do that in your conviction. Okay, that's fine if you do it within your conviction as to what is or is not. This is the problem right here. This is the problem that I have. If you, okay, this is going to be an aside. Okay. Do you know how many people raise higher level reviews that are absolutely frivolous? Okay. Dros get like a week to prepare for these things. They look through all the evidence. They spend time. And do you know what that does to a person whenever they spend a lot of time reviewing for something that was wrong and somebody cried wolf? I'm not saying that you did that. Okay. Keep in mind, I'm not saying that. That's why it's best practice to keep things focused and concise. So that way they can real quick determine whether or not the human being that filed this claim is crying wolf. Okay. Yes. Brain fatigue and anger. Yes. That is very true. These are human beings that are doing these claims. Okay. You have to keep if you want to go in there and if this was the BVA, the Board of Veterans Appeals, you can get all legal in these all you want to. That's their domain. That's what they deal in. But you start losing people. They start going, oh my gosh, it's another one of them. Or I don't know how the Dros generally think, but there's a cry wolf scenario where somebody didn't get the output. Like yours, Senor, is very appropriate. Like your higher level review is very appropriate. Other people are like, oh, I didn't have an event in service, but I'm going to do a higher level review, even though I know, they know, we all know I didn't have an event in service. I'm still going to do it because that's what you do. You go cry to, I don't want to say it like that, but you know how tattling to mom and dad type thing? That's what they think, that maybe if I go to do the higher level review, that they'll just side with me somehow. I mean, it's very weird, but people do that. We've had millions of claims this year, right? Millions. A lot of them are higher level reviews, and a lot of them do not work out in the veteran's favor. I will say that a lot of veterans do have a factual reason to do a higher level review, but they just don't articulate what it is that they're trying to do. That is why higher level reviews have a informal conference. So that way you can talk to the DRO and they can go, oh, that's what they mean. Okay, I get it now. Okay. I get it. So let me see here. No. What I'll say here is everything that you posted is great. That's going to give them kind of an idea about what to start looking into and researching. The informal conference is where you're going to get to humanize yourself to the DRO and say, hey, look, it's not that I went through the VHA and got my care. It's not like I paid for a DBQ or anything like that. I went and got my care. And you have this quack over here. It's probably a nurse practitioner, nothing against nurse practitioners, but they want to say that I don't have medical history. Well, my treatment history disagrees with them. So I don't know. So for me, and this is the end of it, but for me, what's more powerful is just coming to the macro nugget, right? What's the dilemma here? The dilemma is the duty to assist was not completed because clearly I have a diagnosis. Clearly the DBQ did not list a diagnosis. And the rater clearly did not deem that that conflicting evidence was insufficient and did not go get a clarification for it. And because of that fact pattern, if the rater would have done the clarification and if the examiner would have reviewed the evidence, I likely would have gotten diagnosed and or service connected. So yeah, you better hurry on that. You better hurry on that because okay. Once again with the absolutes. I don't like absolutes if you know anything about me. Do not decline higher level review informal conferences because if you misunderstand something, you don't have the opportunity to correct the record. So I would I would do that. Okay. So that's kind of the show and tell for tonight. Let's get back to the art. I love this. This is staying up for a while now. Raiders of the Lost Claim. I can't with it. It's so funny. So I'm kind of just doing this Christmas Eve thing. I just want to talk about some stuff. I just wanted to oh, you know what? I believe that. For some reason I believe that the VA is a hot mess currently. I mean it just is. So it depends on like the time that you can see that higher level review is whenever you file for an earlier effective date. So if you filed for an earlier effective date and you formally requested it, then you need to actually oh, the gentle sir. Hi, gentle sir. So if you filed for a higher level review and you filed for an earlier effective date, then they can say that you filed it on the improper form. So, Rocky did that. I think. I think that's who did it. I'll have to give credit where credit's due later on. So one of the things I did want to talk about tonight is the poll for the disruptive people. So it looks like overwhelmingly, I don't have I don't have any papers to back that up right now, but we're looking at 95% of people want the mods to do the mod things. So GC Jarhead, you and the rest of the mods are currently you have my permission to lay down the hammer if people are being disruptive. Now, I'll let you guys decide what that looks like. I'll let you guys decide, first timeouts. Obviously, we're going to try to time out people if we can, and maybe they'll learn from it. But if they're being disruptive like the fake Lieutenant Dan the other night, then, as my great grandmother used to say, they got their own clothes to get glad in. You just start upping it. And if they don't want to stop, if they don't if they want to continue to be disruptive, then you do what you need to do, right? Because like we said, and like I've said, this is kind of TED Talky where this is meant to be educational. And if somebody's disrupting the class, then they've got to go. If you're just one time disruptive, it doesn't make you a bad person. Obviously, sometimes whenever I talk about things, I talk about very upsetting things. And sometimes people can have differences of opinion about things. It's why I don't like to bring politics into this or anything like that. Oh no. Negative Ghost Rider. Negatory. That is a no on that one. I mean, I'll review things for educational purposes, but I mean, I won't review it to help you with your claim. Whenever I do leave the VA, and whenever I announce that to you guys, then maybe that'll be a thing, because I'll be going for my accredited claims agent after I leave. And that's what it's going to be. So this is kind of like, I know I said I'd decide on the Christmas break the Christmas Day live stream that I'd decide whether or not we'd be kicking people. But here's my problem with that is that I believe that because I prefaced that, I think that they would try to be bad actors in the live stream until such time that I kick them out. So we're just gonna, I don't spend a lot of time hold on. I found a pseudo pray for etc on my channel. Slightly different spelling, same logo. He got the boot some time ago. Nasty piece of work. Well, and what it is, if you look them up, Salty, and you look up their handle and then look up their email address and then you cross-check their email address, it'll show that the email address is associated with like phishing scams and also trying to gain access to YouTubers' accounts to delete them. So I don't know what that was. But yeah, so yeah, like give warnings beforehand. I mean, so far, with the exception of that not so nice person, everybody's been really great. I mean, I have actually muted one human being on here so far. And I muted them yesterday because they crossed a line between combat and non-combat veterans, and they've just been digging at me like I stole their lunch money or something. And so I just I did kind of cancel them in the future. I just put it because look, I mean, I've got a pretty thick skin. You guys can't offend me or nothing like that. I mean, being a raider, like when you first get the job, it's pretty prestigious, but then when people find out what you do, you're the bad guy. Okay. So being the bad guy is kind of normal for me. I just, I want to make sure everybody has access to it, but like I was informed, not everybody needs access to comment. They can watch the videos. So hold on. I need to answer this. Hello, I was thinking of filing insomnia secondary to tinnitus, but I came across your videos concerning insomnia secondary to tinnitus. What is your take on the following? Is that the following? Hold on. I like, sorry, my dogs are up and running around. Insomnia. Okay. So what is my take on insomnia? And this is a very good question because I don't want you to be the veteran that does this. Okay. So my take on insomnia is what the M21-1 says about insomnia. And that is when insomnia is adequately identified as being the symptom of another underlying disability. So insomnia is secondary to a disability. Insomnia is secondary to tinnitus. Service connection should be established for that disability rather than for insomnia. So, and the insomnia symptoms should be included in the evaluation for the primary disability. So what does that mean? It means that your mental health and all of your symptoms for mental health would be locked under tinnitus. And your tinnitus would remain 10% with insomnia. So it'd be tinnitus with insomnia. All the symptoms that are attributed to insomnia could never be granted, could never be awarded service connection for separately. They would always be combined with the tinnitus. That is why you never, ever claim insomnia secondary to tinnitus. It is also why you never speak about insomnia. If you've got depression and anxiety, speak about that. Insomnia is a trap, always. That and vertigo. Vertigo and insomnia have almost the exact same rating criteria for this, that they have to be combined together, okay, with the primary condition, locked away to where you cannot benefit from them. So like if you had insomnia granted with tinnitus, so it's tinnitus with insomnia, and let's say you get depression later granted secondary to something else, that's allowed. And however, all the symptoms that are associated with insomnia could never go towards your depression service connection, meaning that you could potentially be rated at 50 when your symptoms are 70% because you chose to do insomnia secondary to tinnitus. Does that make sense? Oh, that's fancy. Um, guess what? The Board of Veterans Appeals is over there. The VA does not care about what the Board of Veterans Appeals has to say in any way, shape, or form. So that it doesn't matter what the board has to say about anything. Because guess what? Let's say you go to the board, okay? Let's say you go to the board and you get it granted under this 4.130 diagnostic code 9413. Cool. Guess what happens? The board at which point in time gives it back to the VBA. The VBA then applies this manual reference to anything the board said. And then your insomnia gets rated with tinnitus. Now, there are some things that I am somewhat certain about. There's some things that I am pretty certain about. And then there are some things like the sun will rise tomorrow. Okay, level of certainty. And your insomnia will be subsumed under tinnitus. That is the sun will rise tomorrow level of certainty. There is no getting around that. Okay. And I mean, like, I don't mean like I'm not being salty with you or nothing like that. But this is the thing. This is why I created the channel, is because the board does the board things, right? They do their own thing. They have their own stuff. But the VBA, right? They do their own thing. And trust me, there's no getting around them. They're always going to be there. Even if the board decided something, the VA can overturn certain things. They can amend how they apply it. Like sometimes we're forced to grant like obesity because the board says that obesity itself can be a disability. Gets 0%, gets locked away. There's never anything that can ever get, due to it. Oh my God. No docket numbers, please. Oh my gosh. Yeah, tinnitus with insomnia. See, yeah. There's no, like this right here, whatever this is, gets overturned. Like these dockets, yeah. The VBA does not play that way. If I was a rater and I saw somebody with tinnitus at 30% somehow, I would fix it instantly. No, it's cool, man. I mean, it's cool. You're cool. Everything's cool. But this is the kind of talk that we need to have with this, is that this would be a clear and unmistakable error based upon this manual reference right above what you said. I could fix that. You might have 30% for a month, a year, 10 years, but it's a clear and unmistakable error. I need to fix that. There's no way on earth and under heaven that would be that you'd be 30% for tinnitus. That's it. It would be extra scheduler in nature, and it would be erroneous. So, yeah. Let me get to this real quick. Hold on. Focus. Raider, I reached out to Black Rifle Coffee. Gosh, thank you so much. Marketing department regarding sponsorship. Expect to circle back around with them after the holidays. I will petition everyone to get behind the push. I appreciate that because I think that that's kind of a harmless thing. But I need you guys to understand this, that for the VBA purposes though, and thank you for that. Thank you for the donation. I'm sorry. Got a little off on this. But this is like a separate evaluation is not warranted for insomnia. A rater could get an error for separately granting insomnia or granting it extra schedularly. So it's just one of those things that I know it doesn't make sense, but that's part of the whole process, is that the VBA has their own rules. The BVA has their own rules. Both of them review them in different ways. And it makes no sense half the time. And that's where the navigation thing. No. That's secondary. The insomnia would trump it, and you'd still have it you'd still have it combined with tinnitus because insomnia is still insomnia at the end of the day. Um, it wouldn't it would never be granted secondary like that. So the problem is that insomnia is like the worst mental health condition you can have, diagnosis wise. It's a landmine that will go off at some point in time. It is better to claim depression and anxiety generally because those can be separately granted, they can be separately adjudicated. That's fine. You don't have to actually pay that back because it would be their error. It would like the VA is oftentimes pretty good about not making the veteran have to pay back erroneous payments if the cause of said payments was the VA itself. So, yeah, any kind of mental health will be combined with itself. So if you have PTSD, depression, and anxiety and insomnia, it would go in the order. The most severe is typically the first one, so it would be PTSD with depression and insomnia, but they would all be combined together. The only mental health conditions that can be separately granted is normal mental health, so like PTSD, depression, and then eating disorders. Eating disorders can have a separate rating percentage for them. Bulimia, stuff like that. So that's kind of like mental health can only have those two distinctions. Let me find it. Let me go up here. I know I missed a lot of questions, guys, and I'm sorry. I'm going to try to get up here for some questions. I can't be here too long because the family wants to do some stuff, but I was kind of bored and thought I'd just talk to people and show you this background. It makes me laugh. Actually, I might hold off on the questions for a minute here. I want to know how Salty's doing. I loved that video that you just put out, Salty. I got to pull it up here. Which one? The most recent one where you were talking about, oh, what was it? Gosh, I watched the whole thing. Hold on. Let me go to I got you saved in my favorites here. It's the AI. How the VA, like how the VA raters don't care if you use AI. That was like the best video because it's so true. Like, I don't care if you use AI. I care if the facts found are true. Like, that's all I care about. Like, I care about those things. I don't really care. Yeah, everybody should go over to Salties. Like, look, I mean, I've jumped up quite a bit on the subscriber list, but I think that Salty and both Salties, the Salty Old Marine and the Salty Marine, I think their stuff is great. And hey, I know I'm talking kind of fast today, but hey, Salty Old Marine, when are you going to start doing some live streams? I think it would be nice to see a live stream from Salty. What do you think? I think that'd be cool. It doesn't have to be like this where it's, talking about the M21 and pulling that up, but it could just be like, talk to a seasoned veteran, like what are your, I think you'd be a wellspring of information, my friend. Let me see here. Oh yeah, no, I get that. It is kind of a postmortem. I don't mind because I don't know who you are, right? That's the confliction. If I knew your name and I knew who you were, then that would be a confliction, and I couldn't talk about it. The fact is, you redacted everything, and I don't know who you are, so there's no way for me to figure it out or find out. Yeah, Salty, do it. Do it, Salty. Do a live stream. You'll like it. I think it would be cool. Just maybe just talk and just having real talk with veterans. Because I don't know if you noticed, but a lot of us are not social animals. Okay, like we don't get out as much as we used to. Salty Raider combo. I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind having a live stream with Salty, picking his brain about stuff. Do you know what I would find very, very informative, to be honest with you, is the different eras of veterans and maybe talking about all the different toxic chemicals that they were exposed to. I know that sounds like a very weird conversation, but it might be a good idea to help other veterans figure out some of the toxic exposures that were floating around, because I have a video I'm going to be putting out based upon somebody's question. They said that there wasn't any Terra, or they made the inference that there wasn't any Terra exposures from 1985 to 89. And I'm like, what are you talking about? There are a lot of Terra exposures. Radiation, fatty liver, yeah. But yeah, I mean, it would be, yeah, Camp Lejeune, yeah, Lejeune Terra, yeah. What does that look like? Help some veterans out, because I'll be honest with you, there's, there's a lot of different, especially after they did the December 4th, 2025 changes. I want to call them changes to Terra evidence review, and how the raters and the VSRs are supposed to be reviewing for anecdotal or ancillary alternative evidence is what it's called. Ever since they've greenlit alternative evidence, now veterans can use newspaper articles. They can use stuff like that more proficiently, and maybe talking about that, helping veterans through that. Like, that would be an interesting thing for the different genres, right? I was an early 2000s service member into the mid 2000s, but before that, right? There's a lot of people. There's a lot of VA staff that watch YouTube. So videos about, like, hey, look, this is exposures at like McClellan and things like that. Like, those are very powerful, and they can teach the staff members. Because the worst thing that happens is you'll get somebody that's never been in the military rating your claim or being the VSR who's determining whether or not you have toxic exposures, and they don't know what your military MOS did. Unless you were a helicopter pilot, a fuel handler, or something like that, they don't know what the specifics of it, especially in the Marine Corps. It's very, 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 very odd. David, you take it upon yourself to be the victim of the timeout. No, I'm joking. The fatty liver gets me, though. But I joke about fatty liver a lot, but there are some people that will swear by it. They will swear by it and say, no, that's a disability. Like, I don't know. Yeah. So what else? Oh, we're getting closer to 10,000. We're getting closer to 10,000 subscribers. That's probably in January we'll get there. I don't foresee us getting there before then, unless we have a big growth spurt. But because we're almost at 9,400, which is cool. Yeah, PFAS exposure, that too. As of December 4th, 2025, the ability to claim PFAS has gotten even easier, because you can use alternative evidence to show that it was at the location at the same place and time that you were. So, yeah, it's definitely a thing. Now, what happens though, and I feel like I need to say this, the change that happened on 12/4/2024, which I might as well just pull it up. Give me a second here. It might not seem like a big deal to many. And in fact, a lot of people are saying this is not a big thing, right? Like, this is, where is it? Oh, there we go. Okay, hold on. We'll get there. So a lot of people are saying that this right here, this Section A and Section B of this EMOHs, environmental, military, occupational hazards, this addition to the updated guidance based upon the PACT Act, a lot of people are like, oh, well, that was already in the manual. No, it wasn't. It was in the PACT Act SOP, but it wasn't in the manual. So, what does that mean for veterans who have been previously denied for specific TARAs? Well, it means that their supplemental claims, they can, like, if they were denied concession of a TARA exposure, like of a specific TARA, this change right here, they should cite these manual references, this section of the manual and this section of the manual, and just report that, hey, look, you should now be looking at my evidence a little bit more objectively and providing a lot more. You know how the tie goes to the veteran? The tie on the evidence section should go to the veteran on this one for alternative evidence. Okay. Stop with the algorithm, GCGR head, put yourself in timeout. I don't want to talk about it. So let me see what Jim had to say here. If decision is overturned at a higher level review for a duty to assist error, does the rater receive a quality error? No. No, they don't. It's not how it works, unfortunately. I think it should, but I have a second. I am victorious. I have a secondary claim in private DBQ with private DBQs and Nexus. VA shared my notes. What? VA shared my notes and they said that S1. Oh, okay. So the VA shared the claim notes, which said S1 checks completed, veteran submitted substantially sufficient private DBQ, exam not warranted, development no further. Oh, geez. This is about how people write. Development, no further development is required. So this was the VSR. Okay. So the VSR said that their S1 checks, that's their quality checks. So that's determining, is the document sufficient? Does it have a signature? Does it have, something claimed? Basically just their quality checks. So they did all their quality checks, which that's them saying they did it. That's not them proving that they did it. And it seems like you've passed the first hurdle. Okay, I am victorious. What this means is that the VSR themselves, because raters do not write notes like this because there's no need to. Raters don't write notes in in VBMS like this. So the VSR deemed your DBQ sufficient. What can happen is that it'll get sent ready for decision to the rater, and then the rater will determine whether or not it's sufficient. The rater has every power and authority to overturn this VSR's determination. Okay. So have a good one, Salty Old Marine. Merry Christmas. And let us know when that live stream's happening. Okay. You gotta let us know when that live stream's happening. We want to see one. Okay. It'll boost you'll get a lot more subscribers if you do live streams. Just pick a topic and just yammer on about it. That's a good question. I would like to know how I Am Victorious found their own notes. But this right here, this is 50% of the battle. Now you just have to have the rater determine whether or not it's sufficient for rating purposes. Because remember, the VSRs do not understand how ratings work. So they can find something sufficient and the rater can turn right around and not find it sufficient and then order you to have a new exam. So anyway, that's a good one. Let me see here. So if you guys want, like, no joke, if you guys want Salty to do live streams, maybe go over to his channel after we're done and blow up his most recent video with comments asking him to do live streams. Because I would love to, I'd love to watch those. They don't have to be long or anything like that, but I think they'd be really great. I like his how he says stuff. I like what he says. It would be very interesting to me. Even if it's just talking about his veteran experiences, like I would find that to be very interesting because I don't share his same demographic. Like I'm not the same era of veteran as him. Now let me see here. Would you be willing to look over our C file and letting us know what to do to make it to 100%? No, I wouldn't do that. What I am going to do is I'm going to teach you how to figure out how everything is rated, and then that way you can look it over yourself and then determine, whether or not how things are rated, what it could potentially get up to, what evidence is needed, how the process works, because I would much rather teach a community to fish than teach a man to fish. I don't know if that makes any sense. But okay, Gen X 22. How do you claim PFAS? Well, PFAS itself is not something that you claim. You would claim something to the effect of like contact dermatitis due to chronic PFAS exposure from like from drinking water or whatever however you want to tie it in. Um, while at, and then the location that you were at in which the PFAS was. So that's how you would kind of go about doing that. And I will say that yes, Merry Christmas to everybody. I will be doing a Christmas Day thing, and no worries about the limited characters. It's fine. I got the gist of it. But so I will be doing a Christmas live stream just for veterans on Christmas. We'll be seeing what's going on with that, but it's Luna's 12 Danes of Christmas special. So make sure that you yeah. This is if they're nice. If they're nice, they will read them to you. If I was on a base in Tustin, okay, has like 70,000 past the safe level of PFAS. What you just have to prove it. You need some kind of evidence or articles showing that number one, you would have to make the determination. Now, this is like any evidence in service. You're alleging that there is PFAS in the water. You have to prove that there was PFAS in the water. The next thing is you have to prove that you were at the place that you had the PFAS in the water at the same time that the PFAS was in the water. Seems stupid, but you have to do that. And now, as of 12.4, you can use this anecdotal, or you can use a lot more anecdotal, or not anecdotal, a lot more alternative evidence to get there. Well, Backwoods Law, I as much as I've been digging on the bad YouTubers, I would honestly like nothing more than to see good YouTubers thrive. I think that, the Salty Old Marine and the Salty Marine, both of them, I really like their stuff. And, like, it's hard to get people to like your stuff. And if I like their stuff, then I'm going to promote it. I do have a platform. I believe in veteran based businesses, and YouTube is actually a veteran based business. So if, you know, if I can help advocate for them, I will, because it's not like I said beforehand, this is not Highlander. It doesn't have to be only one. Like, we can rise together. Everybody can rise together. Good messages in the veteran community are needed. It doesn't have to be all doom and gloom. And whenever I find somebody that's not doom and gloom, I'm going to support them. Because tell me this, when's the last time, right? When's the last time that you tuned into one of, the Salty Old Marines things, and it was the sky is falling, we're all going to lose our underwear, it's happening, hide your women, hide your children, they're coming for us. Like, when's the last time on either one of the Salty Old Marines? Well, specifically, I can understand if they're updating you on laws and regulations, but it's not this like they're going to take your pay, they're going to take it tomorrow. Now, I know, Luna, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get upset. She's been on one today, by the way, guys. I don't know if you saw the video, but it was very challenging to make a video. I know. You want it to be your day so you can have the 12 days of Christmas? Uh-oh, she's here. Okay. Yeah, I know. I love you too. I love you too. Oh, man. I don't know if you've ever had a Great Dane or seen a Great Dane, but they like to do this thing where they hug you and they put their paws on your shoulders. Sorry, everyone. Okay, needy Danes, go lay down. We'll be done here in just a few, okay? Gosh, sorry about that. Zoe likes to bark whenever Luna gets on me, climbs on me. So very Santa Claus. Yep. Let's see here. So we've had a few good questions. We went through seniors high level review thing. We talked about some stuff here. We talked about the M21. I discussed some kind of a little difference of opinion on Insomnia, how it's rated, how Vertigo's treated the same way as Insomnia. And officially off the chain. Yeah, that's where we went. We went officially off the chain. Luna took over the broadcast for a second, and Zoe didn't like it. And yeah, we need the dog bark thing in here. But yeah, so and David Bright gifted a membership. Thank you, David. Appreciate that. And that's not what today's about. Today's not about like donations or anything like that. I was just wanting to talk because I'm a little bit bored. That's what Vertigo says. Okay. So that's what vertigo is dizziness. So vertigo can only be, I need to be careful how I say this. Let me show. Vertigo, if it's part of Meniere's disease, can get rated separately or together as Meniere's. Dizziness and or vertigo cannot be secondary to something else. It can be part of a disease process, but it cannot be secondary because it has that same requirement. And I'll show you here in a second. So it'll have almost the exact same verbiage as the insomnia, where it says, when the disability manifested by vertigo is adequately identified. So what the primary condition that causes the vertigo is adequately identified, service connection should be established for that diagnosis rather than for vertigo. So it would be like if tinnitus caused you to have vertigo, it would be tinnitus with vertigo. And then if we're looking at vertigo, it would be rated under 6204 peripheral vestibular disorders. That's what dizziness and vertigo are rated under. And it typically gets a 10% for occasional dizziness and then 30% for dizziness and occasional staggering. Vertigo itself has to primarily be granted as direct. Okay. Vertigo might be able to be granted due to Terra. I've never seen that before, and I've never seen it posed by QRT yet. So we haven't had that one come up. Quick question. Why can't items like tinnitus, scars, and some other items be granted without a current diagnosis and such? That's kind of a mixed question. So they need to be granted. I got to go here in a minute. They need to be granted. The current diagnosis is built into the element 1 of the. Let me try to find element 1 here real quick. I don't think I'll find it, but there's a CFR that says, hey, look, a current diagnosis is determined by, has to be within a year type thing. So in order to grant, element 1 must be satisfied. There has to be a current disability or a persistent or recurrent symptoms of a disability. And that's what we have to have. So if we talk about here, and it provides examples for this, therefore current sufficient. Let's see what's 381B. 381B. Oh, that's just teeth. Okay. So basically element 1, there are 3 elements that are required to grant for anything. And you have to have all 3 elements in order to grant. So element 1 is just a current disability. The way that, maybe it's this one right here that I was thinking of. 159, what is it? C4. We'll go with ABC. C4. No, this doesn't have it. I'd have to look through the CFR, but there's a CFR in here that talks about there being like like current diagnosis means like 1 year, within 1 year, unless, and this is going to annoy me. Let me pull it up over here. 38 CFR 3.309A. Nope. 38 CFR 3.309A. And then we'll find it. And then we'll find it. Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. 3.309. Okay. The only exception to this rule is when a condition is listed on 38 CFR 3.309A. And let me make this bigger. Anything that's listed in here is deemed a chronic disability, a chronic disease. So once you get it, you always have it. If you have arthritis, you don't need to keep proving that you have a current disability, because once you have the disability, you have it forever. Okay. Oh, you got all that already. I got Tara in my decision learned. Oh, okay. That makes sense. But when we talk about current diagnosis, if it's on this list under 38 CFR 3.309A, just A, then it's considered, once you're diagnosed with it, it's permanent. This is the most interesting one right here, because hearing loss and tinnitus are considered other organic diseases of the nervous system. So once you're diagnosed with that, it's a forever thing. So this is just something to consider, guys. I wanted to teach you something. Let's see here. So there. Hey, I was at Fort McClellan, Alabama, and have been denied at every turn for respiratory rhinitis. OSA. Any good resources I should look into? I mean, you have to review whether or not you were actually conceded and what exposures you've been conceded. That's like, if I had a step one, guys, that's what it would be. Step one, review and determine what you've been conceded chemical wise, and see if that matches up with the reality of your service. If it doesn't, fight to have those things that are missing actually applied to your claim. Like when you file a claim, you would actually go in and say, hey, look, I was exposed to lead, while I was at this place doing this job duty here. I was exposed to cobalt due to this, at this place at this time due to this job duty. That's what you have to do. Now, guys, I am going to say that unfortunately I do have to go. It's been an hour and a half and my family is asking me. I think we might be opening some early presents. So Luna might be getting a dog bone or something, but don't tell her. So anyway, that's about all I got for you tonight, guys. It was kind of an impromptu thing. I was a little bit bored before we opened presents, so I thought I would, give you guys a little bit of a, hopefully, education. The majority of the thing I wanted to do is I wanted to tell, all of the moderators that, you are live, hands free, you're live, you are free to fire if you need to, timeouts if need be, but everybody's pretty cool. So only in the extreme cases, if somebody is acting out, then they might need a timeout, but that's up to the mods. The mods get to determine that. I don't determine that anymore. So if they don't like it, if you upset the mods, if you dig at other people, you're gonna have some consequences. So I will see you guys tomorrow. Thank you so much for everybody that took time out of their day to come over here and watch me. I appreciate you. And then make sure you also go over to the Salty Old Marine and just spam live stream in his comments section. I'm sure he would love that, of his most recent video. But be well, everyone. If you want to do something tonight besides going over to Salty's newest video, reach out to one of your battle buddies. Make sure everybody's doing all right. Welfare checks, wellness checks, whatever you want to call them. Do it all. No, that's not something you can use. But that's about all I got for you tonight. Me and the Danes This is so hilarious. Raider of the Lost Claim. I can't. It makes me giggle. And Rudy, thank you for the donated membership there. And once again, everybody that's a member, you guys donate your hard time, your hard money to the channel and support it. And I appreciate it because it helps me. We're almost to the computer fund, so it helps me to get hopefully better streaming software and whatnot. So anyway, that's about all I got for you guys tonight. Raider out.